everybody tuning in. This is Love the Oceans live Q&A sessions. So this happens every week, and we have Jamal Galves this week, who is Bermuda's national hero, but also a manatee specialist. So we're going to be talking about manatees and all things marine mammals. So feel free to submit questions in the comment box below. In terms of what's been going on with Love the Oceans, please you can check out our Instagram feed for updates on our sustainable fishing project. We are still looking for donations for that, so if you can spare a penny, then please do. We're hoping to get that off the ground in the next few weeks, so it's just a matter of logistics at the moment. But yeah, so Jamal Galves will be joining us this week. Last week we had Marie-Celine from Coral Gardeners. You can check our YouTube, and that's got all of our Q&A guests, or most of our Q&A guests on there. So you can rewatch any of the previous videos, and there's some really cool and useful career tips and just information about working in the industry. Marie-Celine last week was talking about, she is the head of communications for Coral Gardeners, so she was talking about more of the communications side of running an NGO basically. She was based in French Polynesia, so the view was pretty good. So although I can't really complain from Mozambique, so you can check that out. Hopefully Jamal will be joining us soon. I think he is online. Yeah, so feel free to submit any questions. We have got some submitted questions that people sent through the week, which we're going to be going through as well. And here we are. I'm just going to add Jamal now, and we'll hold up today. Just wait for it to load. Hiya.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm okay, and you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay.
Perfect, awesome. I can hear you perfectly. I'm hoping the internet will hold up. It's been a bit dodgy today in Mozambique, but hopefully it'll be good. So for people tuning in, do you want to just explain who you are and what you do?
So my name is Jamal Galves. I am the program coordinator for the Belize Manatee Conservation Program with the Clearwater Marine Aquarium Research Institute, which is an arm from the Clearwater Marine Aquarium that is famously known for the dolphin winter with a prosthetic tail, from the movies Dolphin Tale.
Awesome. Okay, cool. And then just for people tuning in now who might not know who Love the Oceans is or what we do, we're a marine conservation organisation working in Mozambique. We're trying to establish a marine protected area here, so we do a lot of research and community outreach, or would be doing so normally. But unfortunately, COVID has obviously changed the amount of research that we can do and community outreach. So we've moved to doing more online events like this, so we can invite cool guests on like you and discuss all things conservation. So people tuning in at the moment, if you've got questions for Jamal, you can just drop them in the comments box. And Instagram also has added a questions box as well, so you can add questions and comments, and we'll try and get through them as we go as well. But we've also been submitted loads of questions beforehand. So if you're happy, should we just jump straight into them?
Sure.
Yeah? Okay, so the first question is, how did you get into your current role and what's your background?
For me, it's an unusual journey to conservation. The journey started when I was 11 years old. I grew up in a small village outside of Belize. It's called Gales Point, Manatee. It's a famously known for the manatees presence there. So as a kid, I always knew about manatees. Manatees lived in my backyard. I see them every day. But they were just manatees to me, like a bird or a dog. At 11 years old, I saw this weird-looking boat driving by that says Manatee Research. The engine is in the front. Like a kid who sees a cool car, you're excited about it. Started asking questions, and I found out that they were doing manatee research. And my cousins and I would play manatee rescue on the lawn, and we would fight to see who gets to drive the boat and who gets to be the doctor. And eventually, that became my passion and my interest outgrown my grandma's land. So I strolled down to the dock where they live, and I approached the project leader, Dr. James Bodypool, who is a world renowned manatee conservationist. And this little kid, 11 years old, very scrawny and skinny. And I approached him and I was like, can I come out with you guys? He shrugged and said no, but I'm pretty sure it was my I'm about to cry look that I made. That made him change his mind and say, ah, kid, let's go. I went out with these scientists that day, and I didn't even ask my grandma's permission, which had some consequences when I got back home. But being out there with these scientists taught me so much about manatees. I didn't realize that these animals are endangered, they were in trouble. And the threats that these animals are facing are caused by us human beings. And it was very disturbing to me, even at the age of 11. And I felt, being a child of the village, being that this species live right in my backyard, why not me? Why can't I do something to save them? And so since 11 years old, I started to volunteer. And my persistence and dedication has forced the very same guy I asked to accompany him on his boat to hire me when I was 16 years old. At 16 years old, I was hired as a field assistant, and I was told the only reason I was hired was because they seemed to not been able to get rid of me. So they said, might as well you hire this kid because we can't get rid of him. So at 16 years old, I got my first job as the research assistant, which was the lowest position within the organization at the time. And over the years, the organization has evolved, and I've worked my way up from the lowest position to now the top position in the country as the country coordinator for the organization. I didn't have any background in conservation. I was just a kid wanting to save a species. I didn't have any educational background that speaks to conservation. I had always wanted to be an attorney, so I studied literature and law and social studies and those sort of subjects in my early years in education. But after my fourth year, my boss had promised me if I come to work for him, he'll send me to school. So I went to school. I did my associates in environmental science, and I recently finished my bachelor's degree in natural resource management, and I'm looking forward to doing my master's, hopefully in wildlife conservation, early next year.
Wow, that's awesome. So, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
Right now, I'm 33 years old. So it's
Yeah,
been a
so
while.
you're
I've been 11 years old. I've been volunteering until I've given the larger portion. I've given the larger portion of my life to conserving the species.
Yeah, but that's awesome though. It's so unusual that people know exactly what they want to do from a young age. So that's just like so awesome that you just found it when you were 11. You were like, that is what I'm going to do. That's like so unusual. You're very lucky that you found that from such a young age and that you'd like enjoy it so much, clearly.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and the lesson that I took away from it is that sometimes people just need an opportunity. People just need a chance. Um, Dr. Paul took a chance at an 11-year-old kid. He never knew what would have become of me today. He never imagined becoming a National Geographic explorer. It's just seeing the will, seeing the passion, seeing the dedication from a young kid, which he had a similar path as I did. He had someone that gave him a chance, an opportunity at 12 years old to study the species. So he basically had worked his way up now at the top of the world in regards to manatee conservation, and he turned back to reach and post someone else up and giving me an opportunity. And to me, the most important thing for me, other than conserving the species, is to ensuring that I pass that knowledge and give opportunities to the next generation, so that there are conservationists that we are molding, and that way that we're able to ensure that the planet is in good hands.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so cool. Like working with youngsters is so important. Like we do a lot of educational outreach around like marine conservation, and that is just so important, reaching the next generation, because unfortunately they're the ones that kind of have to deal with what's been done to the planet. And it's up to youngsters to come up with solutions, really, right? So yeah, education is so important, and inspiring that kind of like spark the next generation for people to get passionate and involved in it all. So with your job, what exactly does your job like? What's like a day-to-day kind of? What's your day-to-day look like?
For me, one of the reasons I like my job is the flexibility, in the sense that the unknown. For me, the curiosity of not knowing what tomorrow is going to be is what drives me every day to wake up to try and find that out. I can plan my days, but my days never go according to plan. I can plan to be in the office today, and I end up being somewhere in the outside, somewhere in the field rescuing a manatee or just in a stranded incident. But generally, my job includes we have a very holistic approach in the sense that we carry out research on the species. So we actually catch wild manatees to look at their health. Um, Determining the population health will determine the projection of the future population in regards to the survival rate and where our conservation effort needs to be. We also put transmitters on these animals to follow them to see where they go, notice the areas that they spend majority of their time, identify travel corridors, habitat use, and how are these animals coming in contact with human activities. That information is critical for us to understand and to put measurements in place to try and protect them. Like for instance, by tagging these animals, we are able to identify critical habitats for them. And we're able to propose wildlife sanctuaries, protected areas, no-wake zones, install signage in these areas to alert boaters so that they're aware of one of these presence there, and they'll do the right thing to slow down and give these animals a chance to survive. So our research does not go without our education and awareness effort. We're very big on education and awareness, and I do feel it's the one thing that will actually change people's mind. As scientists and researchers, we may enjoy being out there doing the scientific work, but it's very critical for us to be able to transform that data into meaningful, simple language that the normal person will understand. For them to actually grasp and be able to change their behavior, change whatever activities that they may be doing that is impacting the environment. And that comes along with conservation action. So it's research, education, conservation action. Whether it's workshops for boaters, tour guides to alert them on safe measures to boat in manatee areas, what are eco-friendly ways to do tours and eco-friendly ways to live in areas where these manatees are, and eco-friendly ways to develop a habitat without impacting the environment as drastic as some other environmental impacts as we have seen in the past. So it's implementation of management plan, whether it's lobbying for better protection for the species, and last but not least, inspiration, trying to inspire the next generation to be a part of change, inspire them to want to start at a young age to be a part of conservation. Conservation is not an idea, it's not an approach, it's literally a way of life. And we must live it, we must all live it for if we're going to save this planet. We can be doing our part in Belize, but people in other parts of the world need to be doing the same. And it's very important that people realize that though you may see your action as a small action, just imagine 25 billion people doing that same action. You'll be surprised at the impact that you're causing. I, as an 11-year-old, I never imagined that I would be having the impact that I am having in the world. But that didn't stop me from doing it. And it's important that we do it because this is our planet, this is our home. We don't have any other home, we don't have any other planet to go to. We must protect the thing that we love. We must protect the place that we live, and we must protect the one thing that guarantees our survival here. And I encourage kids, the next generation, to start young. It doesn't matter if you're not sure what you want to be. It's okay to not be sure. It's okay to not know. Sometimes you'll just fall into that path. For me, I never imagined being a manatee conservationist. There's a path that led me there, and I felt that it was meant to be. I feel people are meant to be pilot, doctors, lawyers, police officers, and they are all important jobs. But I felt that I was meant to be a manatee conservationist, and that's just what I want to be. I wouldn't trade it for any other thing.
Yeah. And manatees are endangered, right? Is that global or is that just in Belize?
This species that we have in Belize, the Antillean manatees, which ranges from the Central America and the Caribbean and South America, is considered endangered throughout its range.
Nice. Okay. And what are like the main threats? Why are they endangered in Belize?
Unfortunately, the majority of the threats that these animals face are anthropogenic threats derived from human activities. Manatees are endangered today due to poaching pressures that they used to face in the past. Manatees were heavily hunted in the past, that have driven the numbers drastically low, that have driven them to an endangered status. However, in places like Belize and other places, that poaching has been replaced by watercraft collision. Manatees are constantly being hit by boats. They're impacted by entanglement in fishing gears, such as illegal nets, gill nets sitting in these areas where these animals traverse. They get entangled in nets and then they drown. Um, um, Destruction of coastal habitats, as countries in the Caribbean are constantly being sought after for tourism activities. There are constant development of mega tourism ports and marinas and hotels and condos to facilitate tourism. And unfortunately, not all these developments are being done in the most sustainable way, and they're depriving these animals of their habitat. They're chasing them from their natural habitat. They're destroying the habitat that they need to survive. And plastic pollution is drastic, not just salmon, but for all marine species, including human beings. Plastic degrading in the environment, particularly in waters that we actually consume, can impact us as well. And we're having problems such as climate change is also an issue. The increase in water temperatures, the increase in water turbidity, the increase in rising ocean, impacting seagrass beds that manatees feed on, are driving them to move into different habitats. So these animals are facing numerous threats, and it's critical for us to try and address these threats as best as possible and as soon as possible.
Yeah, definitely. How often do you have to like do like a rescue mission? How often do you have to go out and like save them?
It varies. Sometimes, unfortunately, we respond to more dead stranding than we respond to alive stranding. Why I say unfortunate, because being an alive stranding gives us an opportunity to try and rescue the animal and to do something to it. But if it's dead, we can't do anything other than do a necropsy to try and figure out why the animal died, what have caused it to dead, what have caused it to be dead, and using that data to try and to use our using that data to guide our efforts. If it's boats, if it's garbage, if it's something, it's net, that tells us what we need to address, the things that we need to try and reach out to, the approach that we need to take. So even a dead manatee is critical information that it provides and allows us to put measures in place. But we would respond to maybe around 10 to 12 live stranding a year.
Yeah.
It can
Yeah.
be adult, it can be orphan calves. Unfortunately, not all the animals that we respond to we're able to actually rescue. Sometimes sometimes the reports are late. We get in by the time we get out there, we don't find the animal. We spend days canvassing, looking for it, and you can only hope that they actually recovered and is doing better in the wild.
Yeah. In your photos on your profile, when you've rescued these manatees, I saw like a bottle of like brown liquid in some of the photos. I was just wondering what that actually is.
Oh, usually it's Pedialyte. When the animal is first rescued, we're very careful what we actually give it to eat or to drink, because these animals have been, particularly young calves, they've been separated from their mothers for days, so they're very dehydrated. So the goal of the pee is to rehydrate it. We're not trying to give it solid food to put the animal in shock. An animal that haven't eaten in a couple of days, their stomach usually is collapsed. Their system is not haven't been working. So by giving it solid food or some sort of solid um, mixture may actually hinder or affect the animal more than you would believe. So initially, it's just to try and rehydrate the animal for it to become stable for transport.
Yeah, that's cool. With manatees, so there's obviously loads of marine like mammals and stuff out there, and like loads of people are obsessed with like turtles or dolphins. What was it that like specifically about manatees that has like that made you fall in love with them?
For me, it's telling in the sense that, like I said, I grew up in Gills Point, Manatee. This is a small village known for manatees. So it's like knowing that there's a my backyard friend, my friend that lives in the backyard is in trouble. Um, why go and save something that in Africa or save something in another place? Why not? For me, you have to start at home.
Yeah,
For you to do anything, for you to become a good person, for you to protect an environment, you must protect your home first. And for me, it had to start at home. It was a species that I saw that needed my help. It's a species that actually, for me, saved my life. Before I started saving their life, it saved my life in the sense that I grew up in a very poor coastal community. that expose you to crime, drugs, violence. And as a kid, you can get distracted easily. I've had many friends, colleagues, families that have fallen victims to my community, getting involved with drugs, crime, and violence. But the interest that I gained at a young age in this species that had deterred me from crime and violence. My interest was just so focused on this species that I spent majority of my time volunteering, being out there with this animal, that I had no time for drugs, had no time for violence, had no time for gangs and those stuff. So to me, I feel that this species have literally saved my life, and I feel that my debt to this species, it would require more than I actually have to pay my debt. So the least that I can do is dedicate my life to doing the same for a species that have done so much for me as well. So people might see it as, oh, I'm just this kid I'm just this guy wanting to see, but he has done for me as well. I benefited from this species, and who's better to save them than this young kid that they've saved unknowingly as well.
That's such an awesome story as well. A really nice, like a nice conservation, like giving back story. Yeah, so you actually mentioned that you worked for the CMS Institute.
CMA Clearwater Marine Aquarium Research Institute.
So what do they do? Do they just do manatees, or do they do like lots of different areas of research? Like, how does that kind of work?
Correct. Our efforts are geared to marine endangered species. We work in some of the world's most fragile ecosystems, saving some of the world's most fragile marine species. We work in different parts of the world: Florida, Cuba, Belize. We're expanding into other parts of the Caribbean and expanding into other species. Our work entails dolphin, right whales, manatees, sea turtles. We're and river otters, sorry, and we're expanding to other species that in areas where where we see the need for more conservation efforts to be carried out. And for instance, we're developing a particular interest in sea turtles in Belize, as well as sea turtles are endangered in Belize, and Belize has one of the largest nesting ground for numerous sea turtles in this region as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So lots of different kind of areas.
Correct, but we're using these species as flagship species to protect ecosystem. So manatees are being used as flagship species in Belize to protect critical ecosystem, not just for manatees, but for dolphins, for whales, for fishes, for mangrove. So manatees is this umbrella species that is used to protect all the marine environment. So our effort is not just a single species, but a holistic approach to using a species to protect other species.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Definitely a really successful, by the looks of it, and a good approach as well. So you mentioned like you collect data on the manatees, like you deploy tags and things like that. Can you just talk a little bit more about like what data you collect and like what you do with that? Like how is it used? How does it benefit the manatees and the marine environment?
As it relates to our stranding, we collect stranding data to see where these animals are being killed, where are they stranded, what are the impacts within the specific areas to gear our conservation efforts within these specific areas. Like for instance, the hotspot for manatee stranding we've identified is Belize City. It's the most developed part of the country. It's heavily sought out by tourism. It's a tourism destination port. It's heavily trafficked by boats. It has the highest number of registered boat, and it has the highest number of manatees. So it's not surprising that it's the area that has the highest number of manatee-related incidents.
Yeah.
As it relates to our manatee health assessment, we've been catching wild manatees since 1996 to look at their health in different places. So once the animals are on board, we collect information. It's kind of like when you go to a doctor, you take their measurements, their weight, we photograph these animals, we take blood, look at their blood work, look for trace elements, any form of sickness or diseases that we may find in these animals' blood work. We take ultrasound to look at their fat levels to see if they're pregnant. We also insert a pit tag into their shoulder to be able to identify these animals if they die, if you catch them again. Some animals we've caught randomly 9 different times. We also look at their fat levels, the biopsies on these animals, and once the health assessment is complete, we put a tag on them to see where they go to identify places that they're spending the most time. that translate into protected areas and allows us the information that is necessary to protect these species. We're using drones to do surveys to look at the areas that these animals are using the most to monitor behavior without impacting the animal behavior. With a drone, we're up in the air, not visible to the animal, not disturbing the animal, so we're documenting wild behaviors. Um, we also do aerial surveys, national aerial surveys, so we fly an aircraft, counting manatees in different places to identify population, count to identify habitat usage, to identify distribution and abundance as well. All this is very critical for us to be able to have a better understanding of the species and to be able to put conservation efforts in place.
Yeah, definitely. That's really cool that you're doing aerial surveys of the manatees, because that obviously doesn't interfere with like boat noise and things like that. So you're actually able to get like more accurate data, I'd assume, because you've got the like human element removed from it. But so you can see all the manatees from the surface, like they're all in shallow water kind of areas.
Usually manatees tend to like shallow waters. They tend to like lush seagrass. Bell seagrass are seem to be more healthy in shallow waters as the water's clarity is better and sun is exposed to sunlight, as you know how photosynthesis works. So manatees tend to like shallow waters, though they'll traverse deeper waters, but they generally tend to stay in shallow waters that is not heavily impacted by wave action. So normally behind mangrove areas, sheltered areas. So mangrove is very critical for manatees as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Is like a lot of Belize covered in like mangroves, or is it just like a small portion? Because in Mozambique we have like mangrove areas, but they're actually pretty small areas compared to like the most of our coastline.
Generally, we have a lot of mangrove islands in Belize. Unfortunately, they've been very sought after for tourism, so there've been a lot of development in regards to mangrove areas. There've been a lot of clearing of mangrove areas, unfortunately. But we do have a very healthy population of mangrove, which is good for the environment, which is good for a coastal community like Belize that is exposed to natural disasters such as hurricanes. It's critical not just for manatees but for us as well. So we do have a healthy population of mangrove along our coast.
That's pretty cool. Okay, cool. Someone said, do you think that you'll continue your, like, through your lifetime? I think we can talk way in the future. Do you think that you'll continue your research with manatees? Will you stay in Belize? Do you think you'll move abroad? Like, what do you kind of like envisage your future looking like?
My goal is to just expand, to make our efforts globally, and to add additional species that need attention as well. Just trying to be a voice for the marine environment. My background is marine. I try to stay in my lane. I try to do and talk about what I know. I know that there is other species, terrestrial species that do need attention as well, and I encourage people to try and help other species. But I try to to not take more than I can handle and to not stretch myself thin and make my impact less. I'm trying to be as impactful as I can in the marine environment. And when my heart beats no more, that's when I'll no longer be a manatee conservationist. So it's a lifetime for me.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome to have a lifetime dedication to a species. I think often people kind of don't realize how much research goes on within each species as well. Like manatees alone, there is so much to do around their conservation, let alone like involving other species or other areas. Like to do, especially holistic approaches, they take a lot of time. Conservation science is notoriously lengthy. So it's not like an immediate fix. You can't just be like, oh, protected kind of thing. There's so much like other work that goes on around it that it is literally like a lifetime of work to protect these animals. So kudos to you for dedicating your life to it. And you've already dedicated such a large chunk of your life to it as well at such a young age, which is super impressive.
Thank you.
But yeah, so someone asked, what's your favorite part of your job?
My favorite part of my job is honestly is to being out in the field, being on the water. I'm not rescuing them and not doing, but just being out on the water, viewing manatees from a distance, watching their wild behaviors, and just watching them interact with the environment. Just sitting on the boat and just being out on the water is, to me, is the best thing.
Yeah.
I also really love interacting with kids. I have a soft heart for that. I like being out with kids. I like talking to kids about manatees. I like hearing their manatee stories. I like hearing their questions and learning from them about manatees, because I learn a lot from kids. These kids, you'll be surprised how much they know.
Have you guys had to like halt or slow down your outreach work with COVID changing things with like socially distancing and all of that kind of stuff? Are you still able to do outreach work, or has that kind of had to slow down?
Yeah, definitely. It has impacted us drastically, as in the sense that we can't really have to limit our activities in regards to social distancing, and there's a lot of protocols that have been put in place in the country in regards to gatherings and stuff of that sort. One of the things I miss the most, we've been trying to do as much as we can virtually, but it has dampened a lot of our educational awareness. It had forced us to cancel our marine conservation camp, which we did last year, and we were hoping to expand in 5 different areas of the country. So last year's success was really good, that we had plans to expand, and the kids send me messages all the time. We should still do it, we should still do it, but we have to look after the safety of these children and ourselves as well. And we're hoping that very soon we'll be able to go back to some form of normalcy, and we're able to continue our awareness work and continue being out there in the field and seeing these kids. And it's just a lot of joy that we're missing from these regulations and from the pandemic that we're all suffering from.
Yeah. I can't get used to, I had to do a lot of like Zoom presentations. And like the webinars, you don't have, like, a lot of the time people won't turn on their videos. So you're essentially just looking at a photo of yourself while doing while doing a talk. It's really off-putting. I can't get over that. I really want to like be able to talk to an audience that I can see their like facial reactions. It's a lot, yeah, it's a lot easier being able to like feed off people's like reactions rather than having to just talk to like muted microphones when people are listening to you and just hoping that they're responding the way that you want them to. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to getting back to like normal educational outreach stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah. So to balance out like your favorite part of the job, what's your least favorite part of your job?
My least favorite part of the job is having to go out and recover a dead manatee. It's very devastating. It's very sad. For me, it's not just another manatee. To me, it's like another individual that we've lost. And I sometimes just hope that sometimes I just wish that I was out there to have stopped it, or have done a little bit more to have prevented it, or that there's something that I could do to stop it. I mean, it's just sad. I mean, having to have to go out there and take away a young calf, that knowing that it hasn't had a chance to live its life out, haven't had a chance to explore the waters, haven't had a chance to bear offspring, haven't had a chance to do anything, haven't had a chance at life. To me, it's devastating. It's sad. But it's also the thing that keeps me going, because it tells me that there's work left to be done. So you just have to keep pushing and not let go of the rope.
Do you feel that you build up like an emotional barrier to that kind of stuff, like having to do that on a fairly regular basis? Like, do you feel like you kind of almost like a tolerance for it, or do you still get like quite emotionally involved in that?
Initially, I thought I would have. At first, it's just for the first. It'll be okay. I'll get over it. But seeing an animal die that you are so close to, that you share a very strong bond and relationship with, it's not like seeing a friend or a family member die. You can get used to seeing a friend or a family member die. It's not just a manatee, it's an individual. They all have unique personalities.
Yeah.
Not just a number in a database. It's an individual. It's a life lost. For me, I don't imagine that I would ever become immune to it. I don't imagine that I'll ever get used to seeing it happen. I don't imagine that, and I won't ever accept myself being numb to it or used to it. And if that ever happens, that means that if I ever reach that day, that means it's time for me to pass the ball to someone else, because it's what drives me. And it'll mean that I'm losing my drive, and I don't imagine ever losing my drive. So.
Yeah, we have a similar situation here. So, like part of our research is the shark fisheries here. Sharks are killed for the shark fin trade. So for me, like, I actually did build up like I don't know now if it happened now, like what my reaction would be because COVID's like given a break basically to the shark fishing, but I definitely built up like an emotional resistance to it. Like initially, it really, really got to me, and then it happened. Like there's a lot of sharks killed here, so it got to the point where it was just the numbers were just you just couldn't because it was just too emotionally taxing. But then I had to go out on the actual boat that was fishing the sharks to be able to count the hooks and work out the fishing effort. And I came back like covered head to toe in shark blood, and that was like set foot on shore, and that was like all the emotions. And then, but like as you say, it's what drives you, right? Like that was not good, but like almost good in terms of it was like, yeah, this is why we're doing this conservation work. Like we have to stop this kind of activity. We have to actually like keep going and keep working to protect the sharks here. So sometimes you need that emotional like turmoil to fuel you to continue such important conservation work. So yeah, totally understand where you're coming from with that. Totally understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then someone asked, have you had any like major obstacles or anything like that that has that you've come across in your career, like progressing? Yeah.
Unfortunately, one of the things that I think conservationists around the world faces is that getting regulations passed, getting laws passed, getting protection, getting involvement from politicians or government agencies. Sometimes it's much difficult. As government are more are designed to look after individuals, look after people needs more. So they prioritize the people needs more than anything else, which I completely understand. But there's also need to be a balance in regards to the environment, as the economy will collapse if an ecosystem die. Um, and oftentimes the balance isn't there, and sometimes it's difficult to get critical things passed, difficult to get critical areas protected, difficult to get protection for the species that need to be protected. But it's up. It has ups and downs. Regardless of what government is in, the interest in conservation is never number one, and it's not. Sometimes I don't feel like there's a fair balance in it. So my struggle sometimes is often trying to put measures in place to protect the species, whether it comes from a policy or some sort of a law or something of that sort. That's going to be more difficult than normal.
Yeah, definitely. I think like also just waiting for legislation change to go through and like the paperwork to be processed. Like we're in the middle of launching a sustainable fishing project here at the moment, and we're just waiting for paperwork to go through to be able to actually get some of the equipment here. And it's so frustrating just sitting and waiting when you're like
Yeah.
ready and raring to go, and you're just like, let us go. So yeah, it's definitely I feel your pain.
Yeah.
Um, okay, and then last question was, have you got any advice for anyone looking to get into a similar kind of career or industry?
For me, you must ensure that whatever you do, your heart is dedicated to that. You don't want to be stuck in a career or a job, complaining every day, waking up not wanting to go to work. Ensure that whatever you do is something that you're connected to, something that you have a will to want to do, something that you're willing to do for free. Because for me, this is my job, but I'll do it for free, 10 times around the world. Um, but start. Don't waste time sitting around thinking that you have time. Time is of the essence, and time will go by very, very fast. I turn around and I feel sometimes I feel like I was an 11-year-old kid a couple of years ago, and it's not a couple of years ago. Time goes really fast. Time waits for no one. Opportunities are out there. Dedication and persistence is critical. Dream big. Ensure that you can't just dream, but you have to believe in what you want to become and what it is that you want to do. And dedication and hard work is critical. It's not going to be easy. Nothing comes easy. This opportunity that was afforded to me wasn't put on a platter and say, here you go, Jamal, take it and go. I pushed my way. I was that kid that was cleaning the boats, taking the garbage off the boats after all the researchers had left. I was that kid that was there 5 o'clock in the morning when they leave at 9. I was that kid that was there until 5:30 when everybody goes home at 4. I didn't have a job. You have to play the part. You have to play the part that you want. You have to dress for the job that you want. And you will have failures. You'll have disappointments. You'll have people discouraging you. You'll have challenges. But stay the fort. You know what you want to be and what you want to do. As a kid, I got up at 11 years old in front of my classroom, and my teacher asked what do you want to be, and I said I wanted to be a manatee researcher, a manatee savior. And everybody laughed, including the teacher, and she demanded that I pick something different. At 11 years old, I decided, no, I'm not going to pick something different because I was not going to have anybody change my dream. Sometimes it's often our parents or family members trying to influence you to be what they want you to be. With all due respect, this is your life. You're the one that's going to be living it. So ensure that whatever you do, that it is your heart is committed to doing that, and you're willing to do it for free for the rest of your life. Otherwise, you won't live a meaningful life. For me, if I die today, I'll die at peace, knowing that I've lived my life, knowing that I've dedicated what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be. Unfortunately, I need to be here a long time, as I need to serve this environment for a lot more years. So I can't leave this planet right now. There's so much
Yeah,
more that
please
I need
stick
to do there
around for the
for.
manatees.
Yeah, I need to be passionate people. But for me, find out one thing that you like, that you love, and start working towards it. Um, don't make education deter you from doing so. I didn't have any education when I started this path, but I also encourage you to get an education. It's critical moving forward. It's critical gaining the respect. I realized that I become self-proclaimed manatee conservationist in my country, and I didn't necessarily gain the respect of many people in high places because I lacked a degree. So I went back and I did my studies and got my degree to force them to respect me. Unfortunately, that's the way of the world. But don't let anything deter you from doing what you want to do, and what you want to be. Go follow your dreams. Like I said, don't just dream, believe.
Yeah, definitely. Those are great words of advice. I always say, like, persistence, I say the same, persistence and resilience is so important. I cannot tell you how many times that, like, I was told that I couldn't do what I wanted to do. And even my biology teacher, when I was a student at school, one of my biology teachers told me that I'd never do anything in biology. And here I am, marine biologist, 10, 15 years later. So even when it's people who you kind of think of as positions of authority or someone that you should listen to, like your teacher, like even when you think it's someone that maybe you should listen to, sometimes you just got to stick by your guns and keep going. And if you know that that's what kind of speaks to your heart, then you got to keep going and keep doing it. And
Correct.
eventually you'll find people. Like, I remember starting Love the Oceans, and I remember a volunteer was like, oh, you'll never find anyone that's as passionate as you are about what you're doing. And I was like, well, I'm just going to keep going until I find someone. And then Andrea came a month later, our director, who is like has been with us for a very long time now, but she just appeared on the scene a month later and stuck around. So you just got to kind of ignore the haters and keep going. Yeah,
Exactly.
Andrea's just jumped on this live, so she's waving at
Exactly.
us.
Exactly. I mean, one of the things you have to be prepared to make sacrifices as well. I sacrificed a lot of my childhood. I sacrificed going fishing with my friends. I sacrificed playing marbles. I sacrificed doing things a lot of things that a kid would be doing. I was out helping rehabilitated manatees. I was out on the boat all the time looking at manatees. I spent a lot of time doing that. And sacrifice, with every gain, with every success, will require a lot of sacrifice. And one of the biggest advice someone have ever told me was be prepared so you don't have to be prepared. Stay
Yeah,
ready so you don't have to get ready.
yeah,
So when the phone rings, you're ready to go. I'm always ready. I'm ready, so I stay ready, so I don't need to get ready. Now I'm
yeah,
always looking out for another opportunity. So when it comes, I'll take it as soon as it comes. Life isn't perfect. It's not what we want it to be. It's not fair, not for nobody, including the environment, the wildlife. I encourage people. It doesn't have to be in the environment, but if you have a dream, go after it. Don't let anybody deter you from doing so. That will determine your life. That will determine how you see the success of your life. That will determine if you fully live your life. So ensure that whatever you do is what you want to do and not what somebody else expects of you, what somebody else believes that you should be doing. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be small. It doesn't have to be. Start small. Start small. Like I said, I was just a little young kid wanting to save a species. I never imagined becoming an anti-conservationist. I never dreamt of being a National Geographic explorer. Someone told me that, I would never believe it at all. I had many challenges when I was young. Many. Too many to mention. But I didn't deter. I mean, like I said, persistent, consistency, and dedication. It's three things that will drive you to achieve that goal.
Yeah.
But most important, when you achieve that goal, don't forget to reach back and pull somebody else up and give another opportunity to the other person. It's the most heartwarming thing knowing that you can offer that opportunity to someone else. People messages me all the time asking me about advice about conservation, how to choose path, and I'll never tell you what to do, but I'll give you an advice on how to decide what to do, because it's a decision that you will have to live with. So make sure that it's one that you'll enjoy as well.
Yeah, definitely. You can also get better results through doing what you want to do. Like I was talking to some dissertation students earlier, and they are like doing it then, like university students using our data for their dissertations, and I was like, but if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Like it's better for us if you actually are interested in your studies, like you're going to spend more time on the research, you're going to actually want to know what the results are and want to know what the real life implications of that are, so you're going to actually get better like results if you actually care about what you're doing as well. So so it's a win-win situation. Choose something that you want to do and stick to it.
Definitely.
Okay, so anyone that's tuned in, if you want to ask any questions, then feel free to drop them in the comments box. In the meantime, we have some just fun quick fire questions that we ask all of our interviewees. So if you're ready, we'll jump into these fun questions, Jamal.
Sure.
Cool. Okay, so first question, favorite ocean creature?
Manatees, but my second favorite is orcas.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah. You like the marine mammals then? Okay, favorite day of the week?
Friday. Friday evening, usually I get to kick my feet up, relax, have some food, drink. That's it. The manatees allow me because I spend a lot of Friday evenings out in the field trying to rescue manatees as well.
Yeah. Plastic free or eco product that you couldn't live without?
Plastic free or
eco product.
Eco product.
You've just been using your reusable water bottle, I saw.
Correct. I tend to take it everywhere I go. It keeps things cool, and I can use it over and over, and it doesn't leave in the environment. It doesn't impact the environment. But this, along with my reusable water bottles, I think are two things that I can't do without.
Yeah, definitely. What's your favorite beach in the world?
Has to be a beach in Belize, Placencia. It's really beautiful. It's not as developed. It's very calm, tranquility. It's really nice. Generally clean. I love Placencia Beach. My second favorite beach in the world is the beach where I grew up in Gills Point, Manatee, which is the largest nesting beach in Belize, turtle nesting beach in Belize.
Oh, cool.
But unfortunately, pollution is drastic. Not from Belize, but pollution coming from other parts of the world there.
Yeah, we have a lot of trash coming up on our shores that a lot of it is international. Like some of it is local, but we do have a lot of international trash washing up, which is unfortunate. And we have turtles nesting here as well. What turtles do you have nesting in Belize? Do you know the species?
We have hawksbill, loggerhead, hawksbill, loggerhead, and
one more.
and green turtle.
Oh, nice.
Possibly loggerheads and green.
We have loggerheads and leatherbacks here, and
Oh,
the
nice.
leatherbacks are like critically endangered. I've never actually seen a leatherback here, but it's
Ah.
hopefully on my list of things that I will see one day. Um, yeah. What was the last song that you listened to?
Big fan of Michael Jackson. Heal the World. This is the
Nice.
last one that I listened to.
Cool. Dolphins or sharks?
I love dolphins.
Sticking with the marine mammals.
Definitely dolphins.
What's your favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Nice.
I love Christmas. It's family time.
Yeah. Would you rather be able to speak every language in the world or be able to speak to animals?
Definitely animals. As much as I'd love to speak every language in the world, I'd like to hear what these animals are thinking.
Yeah, although I'm not sure that a lot of the time it probably wouldn't be that good a stuff, considering how much humans have wrecked the world. There'd be a lot of apologizing on our part.
Yeah, I know, right? That's what the conversation was like.
Okay, as a superpower, teleportation or breathing underwater?
Breathing underwater.
Then you can swim with the manatees all day.
I think it's the coolest thing. I mean, I've gone diving and I think it's the coolest thing. And the most disappointing part about diving is coming back up.
Yeah, definitely. What book would you take with you onto a desert island?
I'll probably take David Attenborough's new book. I haven't read it as yet. I'm very interested to look it over, so I would take that book with me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Not a bad shout. What is the first thing that you're going to do when things get back to normal?
I'm going to have a nice get-together with my family and friends. Miss seeing them, miss spending time with them. We have so much that has passed that we haven't gotten a chance to celebrate, including my graduation. So that's the first thing I want to do. But in regards to work, I'm looking forward to being in the classroom with kids.
Yeah, definitely. And then the last question, why do you love the oceans?
It's life. The life in the ocean is the magnitude of life in the ocean is unbelittled, and it's so beautiful, it's so calming, I love the ocean because when you sit on the beach or sit on the boat and just listen to the ocean, all it gives to us is peace, tranquility. It does nothing for nothing else. It's a place that keeps giving but doesn't get much back from us. And I feel like it's not a mutual relationship. And I feel like I owe it to the ocean to give my service in return.
Yeah, definitely. Great answer. Cool. Well, thank you very much for participating today. Before we wrap up, do you have any upcoming projects that you want people to look out for, or any actions you want people to take, or anything like that?
Definitely. Well, as you know, Clearwater Marine Aquarium is not your typical aquarium. We don't breed, we don't collect animals. These animals are there because they're not able to be released. Like for instance, winter, the dolphin with the prosthetic tails. We rescue numerous species. Dolphin, manatees, turtles, even whales. It's more like a marine rescue hospital. Animals are constantly being rehabilitated and released back in the wild. Animals are not able to be released. We provide a home to them. I encourage people to visit our website, visit Clearwater Marine Aquarium. We opened a new facility, which you like. Go and meet Winter the dolphin, meet all the other dolphins that we have there, including the sea turtles that are unable to be released. Also, we've been working a lot in regards to trying to put conservation measures in place in Belize. We're working in regards to expand our efforts. Follow our efforts on Instagram. You can visit Clearwater Marine Aquarium on Instagram. You can look me up on Instagram as well, The Real Manatee Man. We're constantly putting stuff out there, constantly putting information out there, offering opportunities to volunteer. And I encourage people to, even if you're not an environmentalist, do your part in the environment. If you're a business person now, ensure that your business cut down on the use of paper, or try to recycle, try to save energy. We all have a part to play on this planet, no matter what you do, no matter where you are, no matter who you are. And ensure that you're doing your fair share to safeguard in this place that we all call home.
Yeah, great words of advice there. So for anyone that has tuned in and might have missed some of this session, this is all going to be available on our IGTV afterwards, so you can find it on the Love the Oceans channel, and then we'll also upload it to our YouTube as well, so you can watch it on YouTube afterwards too. And as Jamal said, you can follow Jamal on Instagram and Love the Oceans on Instagram. I think it's the top left-hand side of your screen. You can click on the profiles and follow both of us. And yeah, if you've got any questions that weren't answered, then feel free to message either Jamal or us, and we'll do our best to answer them. But thank you so much for participating today. It was
Thank
so
you for having
interesting
me.
talking to you about manatees. Like, we only have dugongs in Mozambique, but and we don't really have any where we're based. They're further up north. So it's really interesting learning about a different animal, a different country, and different like environmental issues. So yeah, thanks so much for chatting. And if you ever want to come to Mozambique, then shoot me a message.
No,
And
definitely, it's on the list of places I have to go. I have friends in the Mozambique as well that studies
good.
elephants. So I'm
Oh,
excited. I'm
nice.
looking forward to come as well. So
Yeah, definitely come and visit. Like, definitely, you're welcome anytime.
thank you
So
for having me. I really appreciate it. Look forward to maybe probably have another conversation in the future, in any future development, and have
yeah,
updating conversation as well. So keep up the good work you guys are doing in that part of the world. I
yeah,
applaud
you
you
too.
and thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, and thanks to everyone tuning in, and keep doing amazing work, Jamal. So thanks so much. Have a great afternoon.
Same to you.
Ciao.
And